All right, three, two, one. Okay, welcome to episode 8 of the Real Workless Experience. Today we have with us a very special guest, probably the most infamous in our clan, maybe the second most infamous, not sure yet. But we have today with us Cb0wed JFK. Cb0wed JFK has been with us for a couple of months now. He is the holder of 2 bananas as of the time of this podcast. He's a cool guy. He hails from the land of
And those
Nevada.
bananas are very special to me.
They are. He's from Nevada. He's a gamer. He is good with his hands, and I'm excited to have him on today. So without
Giggity.
further ado, JFK, can you introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, how long you've been playing RuneScape, and why you still play RuneScape today?
All right, man. My name is Joe, actually. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I've been playing RuneScape, I would say, probably since I was about 10 years old. My brother actually first introduced me to the game. And like everybody else, I just ended up being fucking addicted to this game over the course of the next, decade or so. Honestly, I think I still play RuneScape, dude. It's not so much like the fun aspect of it. It's more of like the nostalgia, and because over time I've become more goal driven as opposed to just wanting to fuck around on the game.
Okay. You become more goal driven instead of just messing around the game. What do you mean by that?
When you were a kid and you were playing RuneScape, you would walk around Lumbridge and kill a goblin, or you do a quest or two. But when I was a kid, my dream was to have a maxed account. So what I mean by goal driven is I've become more focused on actually maxing the account as opposed to just fucking around on the game.
Okay. Yeah. I feel that. That's pretty cool. So what do you do in real life?
Currently, I am 50-50 partnering a business with my dad. We do emissions inspections. In some places every year, which out here it's every year, you have to get a emissions inspection on your car before they let you register it. So my dad and I actually opened up one of these stations. That's pretty much what I do for work. Mainly, I've got a few side hustles like everybody else, but that's mainly what I do.
Okay. That's pretty cool. And how long have you been doing that?
So we've owned this station for about 3-ish years. I've been doing this job for about 5 years, and my family's been in the industry since before I was born. Honestly, my dad's been, he's been the manager of other major small companies and stuff like that. So we've been in this business a while, man. It just happened to be that it was time for us to open our own fucking place.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you always want to go into a family business with your dad, or was this like a recent development as you got older?
Um, I would actually say it was, I don't want to say a recent development, but I never imagined that I would own a business like this. It just happened to end up that way. Truthfully, when I was growing up, I never really had any idea what I wanted to be honest. And it just so happened that, one day my dad was like, we've got money, we've got all the resources. He knows the business inside and out. I know the business inside and out. And it ended up that way. And honestly, I'm very happy with it because we're making pretty decent money doing what we're doing. And I couldn't ask for better, to be honest, because most of my day I sit in here, I'm fucking gaming, dude. I literally pay myself to sit here and game for 10 hours a day. It's a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah, it's part of the benefit of being a business owner slash a self-employed man, right? You kind of get to choose your own schedule
Fuck yeah, you do.
and approach it how you want. So that's pretty cool. So back to RuneScape. So you've played RuneScape since you were a kid. Did you have you been playing consistently since you were a kid? And were there any moments that you took a break? And like, what's the story with RuneScape here? Because with most people, it's always they were introduced to RuneScape when they were younger, and through a series of whatever reason, they're still playing RuneScape today.
Yeah, it seems to end up that way a lot.
So
I would say, you know, the reason I still play, like I said, was mainly nostalgia, dude. I've taken a lot of breaks too. I think everybody like there's like an old saying in RuneScape that it's like you never actually quit, you just take a really long break, which is very true because, like I said, I've been playing since I was probably 10. I'm 24 now, so that's a solid 14 fucking years. And there was like a year or two where I quit playing, and then just one day I thought about it, I'm like, shit, I kind of missed that game. And so I logged back in and I kept playing, and then I got fucking bored of it again, and then the same thing happened again. It's like a vicious cycle.
So, was there ever a period in time that you did take a prolonged break, and if so, why?
Yeah, there was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know, man. I just got bored of it. I started like playing other games and shit like that, and it's like RuneScape is kind of repetitive. So it's one of those games where it's really fun if you can find ways in the game to entertain yourself. But if you're just like doing the same repetitive fucking thing over and over and over again, eventually it kind of starts to get boring. And I think that's what happened. Over time, I got kind of bored of it. So I was like, let's try something else. Let's start fucking around other games.
Okay, so it sounds like a you you found ways to make the game more playable for yourself by adding a little bit of your own creativity to it. Is that what I'm hearing? To kind of break up the repetitiveness.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I would like give myself a goal, like, I have to hit this level by this long, or I want to complete these quests so I can get this. I would kind of give myself like little tasks in order to keep it entertaining because the tasks were driven for the end goal, so it really helped me stay more entertained with the game. And the cool part is I can kind of give myself really any task I wanted. You can kind of mix it and match it and kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Did you feel RuneScape was less repetitive and more entertaining when you were younger, when you were just messing around, versus now you're a lot more goal oriented and you play the game with certain goals in mind?
Oh, I would definitely say for sure it was less repetitive when I was younger. Because when you're younger, you're still discovering the game. It's a lot easier to stay entertained when you're discovering new areas, you're discovering new NPCs, new quests, new items, and all that kind of stuff. Now as I'm goal driven, when I'm working on something, when I'm working on a goal, it tends to be very repetitive because I'm sitting here, clicking inventories full of fucking gems or some shit to cut them for crafting. And it's just really, really repetitive because I do that over and over and over again. So yeah, I would definitely say younger for sure was the more like entertaining side of RuneScape for sure when I really started getting into the game and when it was just more entertaining all around.
Yeah, so it sounds like RuneScape is still just as repetitive as it was back then for you. But you're
In a lot of
playing.
ways. In
Oh,
some ways, yeah.
okay. But now you're playing more so as a way to accomplish certain goals that you've set. So even though it's repetitive, it's a different way of playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
That's actually a really good way of looking at it, yeah.
I guess how much of that do you feel is similar, if not related to how you are now in real life? Do you feel like back then you played around and just just kind of messed around, wasn't really sure what you were doing, and now that you do own 50/50 this business with your dad and you guys are running your own business, there are more metric of success that you try to hit?
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Because now the way if what you're referring to is like how RuneScape is kind of like how I am in reality with my life, then yeah, definitely. Because I'm super goal driven now. I opened a business. I've got a bunch of hobbies. I'm the guy that never really stops moving, and I'm kind of the same way in RuneScape. Like, I can't not be doing something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like taking naps. I don't like sitting down and doing nothing. I got to be up. I got to be moving. I got to do something. And I'm like that in both RuneScape and in reality, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly what I was referring to. Because the idea and theme of the podcast is really how the way we play old school RuneScape in turn affects how we approach in real life. And what I've learned so far doing a couple episodes with different people is that there is a pretty linear relationship with how that works, and a lot of it's because we have all met this game when we were really young, and now that we're older, we're still playing the same game, but we're interacting with it differently, right? And there's reasons for that. So the idea is that we're exploring why.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, just like anything else, you're gonna grow and change as time goes on. And 14 years for me is kind of a big gap, from when I started playing RuneScape and I'm still playing it. So yeah, of course, over time, the way you play things and interact with the game, and interact with the people in the game, are gonna drastically change. That's completely normal, I think.
Yeah. So what are the goals right now in real life then? Like what are you trying to achieve, whether it's with your business or in relationships?
Um, my goals right now are, number one, to move out of my parents' house because I just turned 24. I'm actually still living with my parents, but I don't feel as bad about it because the interesting thing is when we opened this business, the fact that I'm working here actually allowed my dad to retire with no retirement fund because the money that I'm bringing in, because I'm the only one that works here, the money that I'm bringing in is actually paying the bills in the house. So my dad, before he's even 50 years old, was actually able to retire, and he definitely deserves it because he worked his whole life. So with that being said, one of my main goals is obviously getting out of my house, moving out. But my biggest thing is I don't want to move into an apartment, man. I can't do that. I don't like people. I don't like neighbors. I want to move on to a plot of land and build my own fucking house. Because one of my goals is I want to raise my own livestock, farm my own food, have a well, have solar panels, like be completely self-sufficient. That is my ultimate goal.
Yeah, self-sufficiency is, I think, one of the highest orders of living you can get to. Not being dependent on a system or government or external sources for how you live, or getting as close as that to you can, I think, is peak living right there. I think that's a pretty good goal to have.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! Because I mean, you know me. I don't trust the goddamn government. I don't want them in my business. I don't want them in my life. They can go fuck themselves. Being self-sufficient pretty much takes away their power to be able to be in your life and control what they control. Like if a food supply chain, if they cut off a food supply chain, I'm covered. I farm my own fucking food and I got my own livestock. You know what I mean? If they want to cut off power, okay, fine. I've got solar panels. They can't do that to me. If they want to cut off like water and utilities, bitch, I got a fucking well. I got my own water. I don't need their asses. That's my ultimate goal. Because I mean, like I said, you know me, I don't trust any government as far as I can pick their fat asses up and throw them, dude.
Yeah, no, I feel yeah. So what's the way to achieve that then? Like, do you want to work at this business with your dad long term then, and eventually make it your business, and then you help take care of your parents, or what's the vision here, and what does your dad think about it now that he's quote unquote retired?
Um, yeah. So, well, obviously, it's going to be long term, no matter what, because currently this is the best income that we have. But we're not just doing this. We're actually going to open up a repair shop that specializes in classic cars because I'm a mechanic. My dad's a certified mechanic. My grandpa's a certified triple master mechanic. I come from a very long line of mechanics. And so we want to utilize our skills, open up a shop, and use that to make a lot of money. My goal right now is to kind of just ride this wave as it is, keep the business open, keep everything going, make some money, and then eventually I want to obviously open up our repair shop, and then I'm going to save money and I'm going to buy a fucking plot of land, preferably a pretty good number of acres, like, 10 acres or so, because there's actually places on the outskirts of Vegas that you can actually get land pretty cheap because it's all open desert out here. The land's relatively cheap.
Nice. So the goal is to stay in Vegas long term then, just not exactly in the area of Vegas that you're staying in right now. Just less people.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. I can't fucking stand people. I can't stand neighbors. Um, since I have a business here, I don't really think I've got much of a choice but to keep it here, because the type of business that this is, the rules are different from this state to the next. So it's not like the kind of thing I could just pick it up and move it to another state. There's a whole different list of laws and stuff that are completely different. So kind of, yeah, I'm sort of stuck here. But that's not a bad thing. It's not like a really bad place to live per se. Uh, the one thing I am worried about is raising a family, though, because this place is not very fucking kid friendly by any stretch of the imagination. This is a very greed driven city. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of gangs. While it's not a bad place to live, it's not ideal for raising a family, which is also one of my goals in the future.
Right. So you want to live in a better area, not only for you but for your family, and you don't want a bunch of people around because you don't want the negative influences of drugs, gangs, or anything else external that you don't want affecting that.
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely, absolutely. I don't want any of that shit. No, I work around that shit, man. I see enough of that shit every day. Where my business is actually in one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. It happened to be that this is the place they had it for rent, and that's just kind of the way it turned out. The price was in our range, so we took it and we made it work. But yeah, it's in a pretty bad neighborhood, dude. There's always a handful of crackheads running around my parking lot. There's a lot of homeless around here. There's always some crazy shit going on around here, dude.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like just in the last few months, I've seen my landlord, who owns a gas station franchise next to me. I saw him chase somebody down and whip their ass in the parking lot when they tried to freaking steal stuff from the store. Like, he's just whipping this dude's ass in the middle of the parking lot, so that was pretty funny. I've seen a handful of car accidents. I've seen, homeless people love to use the back of my building as a fucking toilet. So I've caught a lot of them taking a dump back there. I found needles and shit back there. It's a pretty rough area around here, dude. There's always some crazy shit going on.
Now, is it rough because all of Las Vegas is really rough, or is it rough because it's like a certain part of it, or is it because it's like inner city Las Vegas? I'm not really familiar with the environment of what is outside of how Las Vegas is portrayed usually, you know, which is like
Yeah, I get what you mean. This place is rough, dude, because mainly it's old. It's like one of the older neighborhoods in the city. It was built in like the 60s or 70s. So you know how it goes. As time goes on, the older it gets, you know, the cheaper it gets, meaning the less favorable characters that move into it. There's a lot of nice places in Vegas, like Summerlin is more of a richer area. Certain parts of Henderson are also relatively nice. North Las Vegas is like 50-50 depending on where you are. The way Vegas is portrayed in like movies or like how you would think of Vegas is completely fucking different from the way this city actually is. Like, I cannot stress that enough. You know, this place is pretty rough just because it's old and just because of the type of people that live here. You know, the type of people that live here are mainly like drug addicts. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of homeless people around here. I actually talked to a cop recently, and he said at any given time, the neighborhood that's sitting behind where my shop is, there's anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 meth labs in that neighborhood at any given time.
Sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it's got its moments, dude. It's not all bad. You know, during the day, it's pretty tame, but as soon as that sun goes down, dude, and all the rats start coming out from under the rocks, dude, it gets pretty sketchy around here. Like right now, I'm at work. I'm at work, dude, because that's, you know, just it happened to be this is where my PC is, and that's where it worked out the best to do the podcast. Dude, my fucking door's locked, my outside door is locked, and my gun is sitting on my desk right in front of me right now. Because I ain't taking no fucking risk, dude. If somebody comes knocking on this door, I need to be ready, man.
Interesting. Do you live in like a gated, like do you have stuff covering your windows, or is everything like open so people can come in?
Where my shop is?
Yeah. Like, I'm not familiar. Like, I don't know what your shop looks like, but I'm assuming there's like, you know, windows that people can look in to see if anybody's inside and stuff like that. Like, do you usually like do you have stuff to cover it at night so there isn't any temptations for
I do.
crime or something?
It's actually like a booth. It's actually like a booth kind of area. It's like I want to say a fucking 12 foot by 15 foot, I think was the measurements. It's not that big, but the main door has like kind of like a window kind of next to it, and we have curtains that we close at night so people can't look in here and shit. Because, you know, I got a gaming PC in here. We've got my smog machine, which is a $20,000 machine. There's a lot of expensive shit in here. So you bet your fucking ass I got shit to cover that window, dude. And on top of that, there's also a security gate on the outside because I locked the main door and then I locked the security gate on the outside.
Interesting. Okay. I'm getting a better feel now for who you are in real life, you know, and the environment you live in. That's pretty cool. I guess,
you know, a lot of people question, you know, why I come off like an asshole so much. I like to think I'm not really an asshole, but my environment and the place that I'm in makes me the way that I am. Because if you're caught lacking in this fucking place, dude, these people will take advantage of you. These people will fucking rob you. These people will fucking stab you. Like, there was one time I used to leave my door unlocked when I worked, and I quit doing that. Because there was one time I turned around to do some paperwork, and I turned the fuck back around toward the door, and there's a motherfucker standing 3 inches away from me. And I had no idea that dude was in there. If that motherfucker wanted to stick a knife in me, he could have, and I would have never seen it coming. So, you know, I come off like an asshole sometimes because of the place that I'm in. You just have to be this way. You know, it's the only way to keep people in check around here.
Yeah, you're in the rough environment in the tough times, making strong men, is what it sounds like.
Sure, if that's how you want to fucking put it, dude. Sure, but that's pretty much the basics of it.
That's funny. Have you always been in the self-sufficiency mindset when you were growing up, or
always?
You were always like that. Okay.
Always. Yeah.
Cool.
Ever since I was little, you know, it's kind of funny. Ever since I was little, I always had like these little survival kits put to the side with like a knife, matches, you know, for fire and all these types of tools. Ever since I was little, I always did that. Because truthfully, ever since I was little, I really don't trust anybody, especially the government. So I've always been in that self-sufficient mindset. Because to me, there's really no other way to live when you think about it. Because when you put too much reliance on a government, it's really fucking easy for them to take away what you have. And I don't want that. That's the last thing I want, man.
That's cool. Do you think that a lot of that had to do with how you were raised and your parents sharing those same sentiments with you, or how did you come to be like that since you were young?
Dude, truthfully, I don't know. I've always kind of been like this. Like neither of my parents are like this. I actually happen to think
Interesting.
I get this mindset from my dad's dad because from what I understand, because my dad, my dad's dad kind of dipped on him. But from what I understand, I'm actually very similar to him. I think the genetics just happen to get passed down that way because he is also in the same mindset. Like he was ex-military. He was intelligence. I don't know if it was FBI or CIA. I don't know the details of that. He was also a gunsmith, which is something I'm trying to get into right now. He did all of his own reloading, which I currently am, kind of doing the same thing. Although it's kind of hard to get a hold of primers and reloading, primers and shell casings right now and all that kind of shit. Mainly primers and powder are the hard things to get a hold of. But I'm also, like, currently I'm learning how to cast slugs. Like, I collect lead, I melt it down, and I have the slugs to make that kind of shit. So I think I kind of get that from him because he was always the same way to what I understand. He was the kind of guy that had a fucking stockpile, an arsenal of weapons and ammunition. So I think that's really where I get it from, is him.
It's pretty cool. How did you get into gunsmithing then if it wasn't your dad that was into this type of thing? Like, was it your grandpa that showed you how to do all this stuff? And tell me more about that as well. Like what else you like to do outside of work? 'Cause that's something I didn't ask you about. And sounds pretty
So
interesting.
here's the thing. My dad's biological dad dipped. Okay. He ended up leaving when my dad was like 10. So I never knew the guy. Okay. My current grandfather, which is the guy my grandma is currently married to, he is the mechanic. He currently works for the city. He wrenches on the buses, the city buses. Truthfully, dude, I don't really know where I got this from. I have no idea. Nobody that I can think of influenced me to be like this. I just grew up, and it just so happened that this is the way I ended up. I'm not okay. So when I say gunsmithing, I'm not like machining parts, like internals for guns and stuff like that. Mainly, I'm bullet casting. Okay, because one of the things that I notice is very hard to get a hold of are clean slugs and shit like that. Because the price of those is going up along with ammunition. So, my solution to that was, it's actually funny. I use a turkey fryer, which is propane powered, with a cast iron skillet with a pan, and I just put the lead in there. Like, the melting point of lead is a little over 700 degrees, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it melts pretty easy, dude. You can literally melt lead in a pan. So that's actually how I do that. I just melt it in the pan. I use wax or sawdust as a flux to get all the impurities out. And then I just pick the fucking pan up and I pour it into these molds and I get a whole bunch of slugs for 9mm, which 9mm is currently the ones that I'm casting the most of.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. It's it sounds like it sounds like it was passed on maybe genetically then. If that's if that is even a thing, passing on
Honestly, dude,
the
that's
gunsmithing.
kind of what I'm fucking thinking, man, because I don't know where the fuck this shit came from. But it's funny because the dude has like a similar attitude to me. From what I was told, my grandfather's fucking crazy. Like, my dad told me this story one time. Like, the dude was fucking nuts. My dad told me this story this one time that the few times that he did actually see his dad, his dad put him on the back of a motorcycle, sitting on the fender back there. Like, he didn't even have a fucking seat or a bitch bar on the back or nothing. Which, for those who don't know, the bitch bar is a bar that sticks off the back that the person on the back leans up against. So I didn't have none of that shit. He throws my dad on the back of his bike. He rolls up, and they go on a small trip. They roll up to his dad's buddy's house. And his buddy is in the back in a garage gunsmithing. Like, they were making like big shit back there, like 50 caliber, 60 caliber. They were making fucking cannons back there, dude. And I guess what ended up happening was my dad hung around them. He kind of watched what they were doing for a while. His dad ended up getting fucking plastered drunk off his ass and rode home with my dad on the back of this bike, drunk off his ass. The dude was fucking crazy, like I said. And check this shit out. Apparently, when they were on the fucking freeway, my dad's holding on for fucking dear life because, you know, his dad's fucking drunk. I guess somebody cut him off on his bike and it pissed him off. So he's going up this freeway exit ramp, sitting next to this car on his bike with my dad on the back, kicking the fucking door of this car, dude. Like, that was the kind of guy that my grandpa was, which I think is a lot of the reason I never really knew the guy, because he was just fat shit fucking crazy, dude. Like, that's fucking crazy shit, man.
That's wild. I've never heard that before.
Dude, that was like, imagine being 10 years old, sitting on the back of this bike, thinking, you know, holy shit, I'm about to fucking die, because he's basically Spartan kicking this car next to him while they're trying to run him off the fucking road. Like, dude, that's some shit, man.
Yeah. Like, you would think almost that would open up that type of personality in your dad to be more of a free soul like that, you know, and be more like his dad, his biological dad. But it seems like a skip to
You would think, dude, but my dad's kind of like him. My dad's kind of like him, but not really. You know, my dad's more of like, my dad and I are like, I don't want to say opposites because we're a lot alike, but the way we think about things is really, really different. Like, he's more of a chillaxed kind of person, you know what I mean? And I'm not like that, dude. I always have to be getting up and fucking going and moving and doing some shit, you know what I mean? So my dad and I are very different. I would, like you said, I would say that I really feel that my personality was fucking genetically transferred on, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there is much environmental influences that can explain your personality, at least so far.
Not really, dude. Not really. And honestly, like, I actually got my dad into guns and shit like that because he was kind of like that before. You know, he always had guns and shit. But ever since I started getting into this and I started open carrying, which I open carry every day that I'm here in my work, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason I ain't been fucking robbed yet. You know, ever since I started getting into that, I talked my dad into getting a pistol. He carries a little .380 pocket pistol. I talked my mom into also getting a pocket pistol. She got the same one my dad has. And then I ended up buying my sister a fucking pistol as well, because she works here on Wednesdays. And I always bitch at her, keep that fucking thing on you, because so far she's had to pull that thing on somebody twice.
Dang. Like at home? Or like this is at work she had to pull that?
Nah, dude, when she was working here.
Sounds rough.
Dude,
yeah.
Like, she told me it was like, apparently there was like, I guess this Mexican lady ran up to her. She didn't really speak much English, but she handed my sister the business card for the Metropolitan Police Department, which not the 911, like the front desk number. So my sister, thinking on her toes, was like, oh shit, I think this means she kind of needs help. So this fucking homeless guy comes up and he's screaming at her. And he's saying shit like, fuck that bitch, whatever that bitch fucking says is a fucking lie. And my sister's like, whoa, dude, you got to back up, man. I don't know what you're doing, but you need to back up. And I guess it didn't click in his drugged out, retarded fucking brain that he needs to back up, because he kept like moving toward my sister, like kind of squaring up, like he's getting ready to throw fucking hands. And my sister had to whip out her piece and she clicked the safety off and stuck it down by her side. And that was a point that it finally clicked in his fucking drug-riddled brain. Oh shit, maybe I should get the fuck out of here, which he did. And if she wouldn't have had that piece on her, dude, something might have happened to her, because she's not that big.
And this was when your sister was also working at the family business, but now it's just you working. Okay.
Yeah. No, she covers Wednesdays for me, because I need a day off, because I'm always like working on like a car with my dad, or currently I'm replacing wood on a trailer, because we're going to use that trailer to pick up more cars to fix and sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's pretty
Or
cool.
also, like you were asking about other hobbies, I also dabble in blacksmithing too. That's something I got really into.
What's blacksmithing versus
Um,
gunsmithing? Or what's the difference?
Blacksmithing is 1,000 times easier. Well, the thing with blacksmithing is it's not as precise. Like when you're making the internals for a gun or you're casting them or something like that, it has to be very specific and very precise. Most internals with a gun have to be machined to a very specific measurement.
Oh, I
They
see.
can't be off. Like one of the bigger mistakes I've heard of is when people are drilling and threading the barrel for a gun, the diameter is smaller. Okay, because the diameter has to be very specific. Like, say for instance, the diameter for a 9mm is 0.356 off the top of my head. That is the perfect diameter for a barrel of a 9mm. If it's too small, when you pull that trigger, that slug's going to get lodged in the barrel and the thing's probably going to blow up in your fucking hand. So gunsmithing is very precise and it has to be very specific. Very, very. When it comes to blacksmithing, it's not really like that. I heat up a piece of metal, I fucking pound it into a shape, I clean it up a little bit depending on what I'm trying to make, and that's really all there is to it. Like right now, I'm making a mace, and I'm using an old torsion bar off of a truck. Which a torsion bar, if you don't know what it looks like, it's about, I want to say 4.5, 5 feet long, depending on the car. And on the end of it, there are hexagon, like stop sign, like hexagon shaped ends to it. Okay, so what I'm doing is I cut the torsion bar in half. It's supposed to be a two-handed mace. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut six blade type shapes. Like they're going to be blunt because it's a mace. It's not going to be a blade. But I'm going to cut 6 of the exact shapes out, and I'm going to actually shape them and weld them to the end of the torsion bar. So it ends up being like an English style mace.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Yeah, and like it sounds like with blacksmithing, it's a lot more external, like large, well, like wieldable objects sometimes versus, as you described with gunsmithing, it's a lot of internal parts. So therefore, it has to be precise because it has to fit.
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I guess people who aren't into it don't realize that there's a lot of dangers in it too. Like, say for like I said, if something's not precise, when you fire around, there's a lot of pressure release coming from that casing, and that pressure has to be able to go somewhere. And if that slug gets lodged in that barrel because it wasn't threaded right, or there was inconsistencies in the smoothness of the bore in the barrel, then that shit'll blow up in your hand, dude. And also another thing is reloading ammunition as well. If you don't get your grain count right, then you're holding a grenade when you pull the trigger. Certain barrels and certain loads are only meant to hold up to a certain grain of powder. Like, say for instance, the 9mm that I used to carry, because I currently carry a 45 single action, believe it or not, like an old cowboy pistol, because I fucking love this thing, dude. The grain weight of a 9mm, a max load for a 9mm is about 147 grains, which is what police carry. Cops carry gold dot 147 grain hollow points. 147 grains is about the max load you can put in a 9mm safely to operate it safely, like repetitively. You can put more and get away with it, but if you fill that slug, or it's not the slug, if you fill the casing with powder, dude, that thing's gonna fucking blow up in your hand, dude. So it's very precise, and you really got to make sure you weigh that shit correctly, or you're gonna end up blowing a hand off or a thumb off, or things end up blowing up in your fucking face, and now you got gunmetal shrapnel all in your face. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're handling a lot of potential or actual explosives with those types of things too, basically.
Oh, you are.
So it versus black.
Yeah, gunpowder's very
other stuff.
That shit's very explosive, man.
Yeah.
Gunpowder actually has nitroglycerin in it. It's got a small portion of stabilized nitroglycerin in it. Smokeless powder does anyway. So that shit, as if you know anything about nitroglycerin, it's very pressure sensitive and very dangerous. So you want to make sure you get that shit right.
Yeah. It makes me think, as you're doing all these things as a hobby and you're literally honing and developing these skills of blacksmithing, gunsmithing, you're a handyman basically, right? You, I mean, there's some opportunity for
Sure. Yeah, that's a way
for
to
like
put
a
it.
side business there, you know? Like you could blacksmith or make parts for other people, and I don't know. It sounds really cool. I've
Dude,
heard
it's
of people
actually
that can do
funny you
that.
fucking
So
mentioned that because it's funny you mentioned that because one of my side hustles is scrap metal. Okay, so my girl's dad, he owns a dealership. Obviously, I'm not going to say which because everything needs to stay kind of anonymous. Anyway, they do their own repairs there. So they have a lot of old engines and transmissions that they have back there that he usually gets rid of. Like he tosses them, but what happens is I roll up there with my truck and I fucking stack this shit in my truck bay and I take it back to my house and I disassemble this shit. You can actually get a pretty decent amount of money for scrap metal, dude. I got $200 for a truck bed last time of a whole bunch of like casings and shit because I separate the metals. I open up the transmissions and I disassemble the engines. You know, like some engine blocks are cast iron, some are aluminum. You get a lot of money for aluminum, man. I think right now it's about 56 or 57 cents per pound. And these are whole engine blocks of literally solid cast aluminum. But one of the things I'm doing is when I'm pulling apart these transmissions, I'm actually making like art pieces out of them. Like one of the things I do is, good example, I have like a differential assembly from the inside of a transmission and I welded the camshaft out of a Hemi out of it. I welded it on top of that, and then I'm going to weld one of the clutch assemblies, which are circular and they're kind of like deep, and I'm going to make an ashtray out of it. And I think that's kind of like something I want to start selling because I got all this scrap metal and all this shit, and I can sell a cool piece for that for like probably like $50-$60, you know?
yeah, no, that's really cool. I did see something like that you posted in the Discord, I think, and you painted it or spray painted it black. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it was actually it was an ashtray that I made out of a brake disc, a cast iron pipe flange, and a threaded pipe that I screwed into there. And then I welded the sun shell out of a transmission that I did a rebuild on. It was actually my girl's turn. It was a 44 RE out of a 97 Grand Cherokee, a Jeep. It was the sun shell that was worn out. The corners of it were all fucked up, which is very typical of those. So we got a new one, and I took the old one and I welded it on top of the fucking threaded pipe. So now it's an ashtray. And my grandpa actually does pinstriping and sign art. Like he's actually a really good painter. And so he actually pinstriped and painted my my business's letters and logo on the base of the ashtray on the face of the brake disc. So I'm going to keep it here at my work. Yeah, I'm going to keep it here at my work for my customers whenever they want to sit outside and have a smoke and shit like that, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. You know, it kind of reminds me of that. It's like that Johnny Cash song where he like disassembles like cars and like puts stuff into his pocket, and then you know at night he'll like he eventually builds like his own car. I think it's called like One Piece at a Time or something by Johnny Cash. But it
yeah, dude,
it kind of reminds me of that what you're talking.
Fuck yeah,
about.
dude. You know what? Yeah, and like speaking of goals, like you asked me before the podcast was up, like what my favorite car is. I actually don't have a favorite car because my goal is to build a fucking rat rod and literally Frankenstein together a whole bunch of different cars. Like if you've ever seen like the new Mad Max, like Fury Road, that's the type of shit that I'm into. And like, my grandpa's also into that shit. Like we're into that shit so much that every year Las Vegas has this thing called Rat City Ruckus, which is a rat rod show, and him and I made it into I think 2017 or 2018's Rat Rod Magazine edition. We got a picture in there if you want to look it up, because he did this custom sign paint because he painting. It was really interesting. He painted Rat Rod Magazine on it, and even though it was flat, he painted it to look like corrugated tin, which is the wavy like roofing that they use, and it looked so real that it fooled the guy from Rat Rod Magazine, and he ended up taking a picture of that painting, and my grandpa and I are standing next to each other, and they put it in the fucking magazine, dude.
Oh, that's pretty sick. Yeah, you got to send that.
Yeah, dude.
I'll check it out.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I'll stick in
the
I'm not familiar with Rat Rod Magazine, but I am now. You know, if you were in it, I'll check it out.
Dude, basically, like, Rat Rod Magazine is a compilation. They do it like once a year. They go around and they get like, you know what a rat rod is, don't you? Like, you know exactly what a rat rod is?
I don't. Is that like a Frankenstein car or something, or what?
Basically, that's kind of the simple way of putting it. A rat rod is like a a rat rod's like a hot rod, I guess you could say, because a lot of guys use older cars, but you can really make a rat rod out of just about anything. Like they have rat bikes, dude. Like they got fucking Harley Davidsons that they do all sorts of crazy shit on. But a rat rod is basically a car that is welded together and has all kinds of different like shit on it.
Yeah, okay.
They basically Frankenstein this car together to make it work. And like if you look up rat rods, like there's a really unique style to it because you'll get guys that use like you ever seen those giant 2-person hand saws that they used way back in the day?
Yeah,
there's actually guys
looking at it right now.
that have, there's actually guys that cut those up and they use that as the sun visor above the windshield, or they use it as the side steps on the side of the car or the truck or whatever they use. It's like it really is an art form, and it's an art form that I'm really into because you're basically making something out of nothing. You're taking what you have, cutting it up, fabricating it, and turning it into this wicked looking piece of art. Like I remember a while back I posted into the general chat in the Discord channel that I've got fucking meat hooks hanging from the back of my truck because I thought it looked cool, dude. I took a bunch of hooks that were mounted. I went to the junkyard. I got a bunch of hooks that were on the front of trucks there. And I cut them up and I basically turned them into like meat hook looking fucking things, and I sharpened them and I made them look really cool, and I hung them from chains. I welded them to my bumper because my bumper is aftermarket. It's like it's a super heavy duty bumper that I welded these fucking hooks onto and I mounted on my truck. And it's actually, I don't know if I posted in the general chat, the front emblem on my truck is actually a rusty circular saw blade, and I welded the shape of the Chevy bow tie, the emblem, out of a timing chain that I pulled out of a Hemi. And I welded I bent the links and I welded it into the shape of a Chevy logo, and I melted a fuck ton of lead and I poured that on the inside of it, and I kind of shined it up as like a custom grill piece, you know?
Yeah, it almost looks like a kind of like a steampunk style kind of thing.
Actually, yeah, that's actually kind of a way of looking at it. It's very similar to steampunk.
That's pretty sweet. So when you're saying your grandpa is into this type of stuff too, and he like is good with art, is this like the grandpa, like is this like your step grandpa, or like because this isn't your biological dad's grandpa, right? Because you never met that guy. This is a different grandpa.
No, it's not.
So it's like grandpa on your mom's side, I guess, that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's
okay.
No, this is my dad. This is the grandpa on my dad's side that my dad's mom is married to. We're not biologically related, but as far as I'm fucking concerned, we're biologically related because we're like the same person, dude. Like honestly, it is my it's my dad's stepdad. It's my dad's stepdad, but my aunt's biological father.
Wait, hold on. Your dad's stepdad, but your aunt's biological father. Yeah. Okay. So this is...
Yeah, like because my grandma had another kid with him. Come on, man. This ain't Alabama, dude. Don't act like you're getting all fucking confused with my kids.
I can't...
Acting like we're in fucking Alabama.
I'm having a hard time picturing the family tree here. I'm like, what? Like, what does that mean? Okay.
Don't say that shit either, man. We ain't white trash, all right?
That's funny. No, I never said you were. I was trying to imagine which branch this was. That's cool though. But nice. So it sounds like you're very family oriented too. Like a lot of everything from like running a family business to your hobbies as well involve a lot of interests that either your grandpa shares or stuff that you got your dad into, which is stuff that you liked.
Yeah, dude, like family's everything, man. That's all you got. And I feel bad for people that either don't have family or are alienated from their family, because family truly is all you fucking got, dude. Like nobody in my family has ever abandoned one another, ever. And that's something that I am actually very proud of in my family for. is that we're very close, and while we fight sometimes, we're the kind of family where it's like we fight amongst ourselves, but if you fuck with one of us, you fuck with all of us, and that ends up being a big fucking problem for you.
Yeah, those are the best families, I think. The very tight and cohesive ones.
Yeah, dude.
Always got each other's back.
Absolutely, dude. I couldn't imagine life being any other way. Truly.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So you're very family oriented. You're a self-sufficient man. Sounds like you're also pretty artistic. I didn't realize that until you were describing your rat rods or interest in making that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're also
Yeah, I usually don't come off as very artistic to people, man. I usually come off as a fucking dick to people, so they never really get far enough to discover that side of me, I suppose.
Yeah. And you're also a gamer, though. So, like...
Fuck yeah, I'm a gamer, dude.
So how does that, like, fit into everything here? Because it, like, does anybody else in your family play video games, or how did you get into video games? And let's tie it all back to RuneScape here and see if we can make a connection.
Honestly, the only other person in my family that games, dude, is my fucking brother, and he is the one who originally introduced me to RuneScape, but he doesn't play that much anymore. He mainly works a lot now because he's 25. He's my older brother. So he's got a kid, you know what I mean? So most of the time now he works mainly, and he doesn't get the chance to play as much as he wants.
And he works at the family business with you?
No. So it's a 50-50 partnership between my father and I. So my dad and I and my sister, when she works on Wednesdays, we're the only ones that see profit from it. My brother actually works at a different smog place doing the same fucking job, but just works for somebody else. Like, everybody in my family has been in this business forever. My mom was the first female in the state of Nevada to ever have her smog license. That's her title.
What's a smog license?
Smog is referring to emissions testing. Out here, they call it smog because you're checking the fucking cars to make sure they're not putting out too many bad gas.
I see. Okay.
Into the smog that sits over the fucking surface of the city. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's what the business is. It's it does emissions testing to make sure it's within code, I guess, and that it's safe.
Yeah, and dude, I gotta tell you something, man. Like, when I first started this business, I'm not for government control by any stretch of the imagination. But I gotta tell you, dude, working this fucking place has taught me something. And that has taught me that emissions testing is really fucking needed. Because it's actually scary, the things that some people do to their fucking cars. Probably 1 in 20 cars that I do a test on is a rolling fucking fire hazard, dude. Because, like, people got shit wired all wrong. They don't run wires through fuse boxes. They wire shit directly to the battery. It is actually scary, the shit that people do to their cars. As a matter of fact, I posted these pictures in general chat, I know. Recently, I had a car catch on fire in front of this bitch.
Yeah, I remember that. And that was during one of the emissions tests.
I didn't even get the test started. The fucking dude rolls up. I smell a really strong smell of gas, which is usually a bad fucking sign. And I tell the dude, I'm like, hold on, dude, open your hood, man. I opened the hood, and one of the fuel lines going to the fuel injectors was just pouring fucking gas, dude. And what ended up happening was I shut the hood. I told him, like, dude, this ain't safe, man. I can't do a test on this thing. Not 5 or 6 fucking seconds later, after I said that, the gas leaked down and it touched the headers. And the whole fucking car went up in flames, dude. And the shitty part was, this dude was handicapped. He had no use of his legs. I had to grab this motherfucker, lift this fucking dude, who was like 300 pounds, by the way. I had to lift this motherfucker out of the car. I had to put him on the boiling hot fucking ground. I had to run and grab a chair because Dude, okay, I couldn't put him on the ground because it's hot as fuck. He actually ended up getting third-degree burns on his ass from the fucking asphalt.
Wait, because it was so hot.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to get a chair, and I had to lift this motherfucker onto the chair. And
wait, this was after burning his butt on the ground.
Yeah, dude,
you
I felt
probably
so
went in and
bad.
grabbed the chair for him so he could.
Dude, I
not
felt
completely get
so
cooked.
bad because when it first went up in flames, my first thought was I have to get a chair for this guy because I can't put him on the asphalt because we're in the sun. And so I ran with the chair to put it somewhere, and I swear to God, this dude thought I was ditching him. And I felt so bad after that because I sprinted back and I grabbed him and I fucking pulled him out of this car while it's literally engulfed in fucking flames, dude.
So you ran inside to grab a chair, but then before grabbing the chair, you ran back outside to grab the man.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
so you did like a whole entire 360 to like go back in, go back out, grab your man, put him on the ground on the asphalt that you didn't want to put him on anyways. Yeah. And gave him third-degree burn.
Dude, I had to get him out of this car. Dude, and like fucking, I did this shit in like a split fucking, in like a matter of 4 or 5. I didn't know my ass could move that quick, dude, because there was so much gas under the hood of this car that I didn't know if it was gonna travel through the fuel lines, because like usually that only happens in movies where a car blows up, but there was so much fucking flames that if it would have reached that gas tank, that fucking thing would have turned into a bomb. That thing would have blown up and fucking launched itself into orbit. And, you know, I didn't know I could move that quick because, like, I put him down on the chair and I had to run by this car, like, probably 2 or 3 feet from it to grab my phone and a fucking fire extinguisher. And I ended up not using a fire extinguisher because I'm like, you know what, dude? If this thing does go up more and blows up, I don't want to fucking be standing near this thing. So I ended up just calling the fire department and just sat there and watched this fucking thing burn. And the craziest part was the EMTs. They fucking told me when they got there, they're like, dude, that guy wouldn't have lasted another 5 or 6 seconds in that car because there was so much melting plastic and burning shit, he would have died of smoke inhalation. And they also said, dude, if he would have kept going, if he would have driven right by me, that motherfucker would be dead right now. Because that thing would have caught fire while he was driving, and it would probably blinded his ass, and he would have plowed that car into something. And he's handicapped. He wouldn't have been able to get himself out, and he would have fucking burned to death.
Yeah, it was kind of a good fortune or God's grace that he happened to stop by and happened to go for an emissions check that day, and coincidentally,
dude,
he survived.
Absolutely fucking. I'm Catholic, dude, and I'm a big believer in divine intervention, and that was fucking divine intervention, man. Because if he'd have gone anywhere else, that dude would have been fucking dead.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. I never heard that before.
Yeah.
Especially somebody burning their butt on an asphalt. That's some
dude, I was
hard
just,
asphalt.
You know, I wanted to go to work. I just wanted a regular fucking Tuesday. That's all I wanted, dude. And fucking car catches on fire in front of this bitch.
Yeah. That's funny. Was there any moment during the time that the car caught on fire and then you ran inside to grab the chair and then you went back outside to grab your guy that you started giggling at all because you thought like, wow, this is so ridiculous right now, what's happening?
You know what, dude? Nah, I didn't giggle because
No,
you know,
like,
a dude,
a
dude's life was in my hand. And
Yeah.
I can't laugh at that. You know what I mean?
That's
This
pretty
life was
insane.
like, I was so focused. And you know, I learned something about myself that day. I am a fighter. I don't run because in situations like that, some people will just fucking take off and go, "Oh my god, I gotta get away." Nah, dude, I fucking hopped up and I grabbed that motherfucker and I dragged his fat ass out of that fucking car. And I learned something about myself that day. I fight. I don't run, man.
That's good. Those are good things to know about yourself, you know. In very few situations, you can learn it. So, definitely fortunate that you could have experienced something.
And that's
like that.
That's like not even the first time some crazy shit like that's happened around here, dude. I remember the when you pull out of my parking lot and go into the street, you can cross over and turn left to go that way. Well, apparently it's a really accident-prone area. And a while back, there was an accident not fucking 50 feet from where I'm at right now. And this lady ended up getting really fucked up by the airbag, dude. Like, this fucking thing Mike Tyson her ass in the fucking face when it deployed. And I had to go there and I had to help the lady out of the freaking car, and I had to sit there with her and make sure she stayed conscious because I didn't know if she was concussed or not. I didn't know anything. I had to, like, sit with her, and I called the ambulance. I had to, like, make sure she stayed conscious and make sure she wasn't, like, passing out or nothing. And I was, like, ready to do fucking CPR. Like, this shit happens all the fucking time around here. I've seen everything from fist fights in the parking lot. I've seen probably a dozen car acts. Yeah, mainly bum fights. My fucking dude, check this out. My landlord got a gun pulled on him because I guess these dudes went on a beer run. They stole a bunch of beer from the gas station. And my landlord is this fucking buff ass fucking dude, and he'll chase after these dudes and he'll whip their fucking ass in the parking lot. I've seen this shit multiple times. Well, I guess what ended up happening was he ended up chasing these dudes, and this fucking piece of shit who stole the beer hopped in some little tan fucking Honda, and I guess my landlord might have yelled something at him or something. But the fucking passenger, Dad, don't get ahead of me. Check this out. The passenger gets out of the car and he sticks a fucking gun in his face. And I was like 20 feet away from this guy watching this shit happen, going, fuck, man, my landlord's about to get turned into a fucking Swiss cheese.
What did he yell to make him do that?
I don't know, dude. I didn't hear anything. At the time, my gun was actually unholstered because I open carry. I keep it on me. It was unholstered because at the time I was taking it off because I noticed it made some people uncomfortable. Now I don't give a shit. If it makes you uncomfortable, fuck you and fuck off. But I kept it unholstered, so I didn't have it on me. And it's probably a good thing because if I had it on me, I definitely would have drawn that thing and fucking lit that dude up, man. And that would have turned into a whole nother problem.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, that it sounds like it would be a problem, because then you would have some potential legal problems there that you would have to go through.
Yeah, and it was like my landlord owns this property. It's private property. So if I shoot somebody on this private property in self-defense, if it does come to that, which I pray to the good Lord it doesn't,
right?
Because it is a crazy-ass place around here. If I shoot somebody on private property, it's a different situation than if I shot him on the public sidewalk where he was standing. That really I would have been in cuffs, and I'd be in prison right now. I never would have found this clan. I'd be fighting my fucking way. I'd be fighting my way through the prison, man.
That's funny.
I'd be fucking covering my ass with a pillow, trying not to get my asshole sold for a pack of cigarettes,
Now I think we've had like one guy that joined the clan and he was like fresh out of prison or something like that, supposedly. And I don't know, it's a pretty interesting guy, But
dude, prison ain't a good place, man. It really changes the way people are,
Yeah, I don't think it's good. Well, we're hitting the 1 hour mark here. My last question for you, and I think it's a pretty big question, and you've mentioned this a lot of times. It's your mistrust of government, JFK, and I'm
absolutely.
And I'm wondering why. What's the reason here that you feel the need to bring that up so much that it sounds like it's influenced a lot of your worldview, the way you live, and the way you choose to view what your future is?
It absolutely has. And the one word that I can give that will define the reason that I don't trust government is history. Simple as that. Anybody who knows anything about history knows that you don't trust governments. If you knew, a lot of people are uneducated. If they knew what governments are famous for doing to disarm populaces, they would also develop a large mistrust in government. Because you've got, look what happens when you let your government take over. Stalin killed 30, 40 million people in Soviet Russia. Mao Zedong in fucking China killed upwards of 60 plus million in the Great Leap Forward. Pol Pot in Cambodia, his body counts like 2 million. Fidel Castro's up there. Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, who wasn't as bad, but you know what I mean. I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. I don't trust governments because they've never given me a fucking reason to trust them. And I like to think independent kind of person. And I never put my trust in anybody but my fucking self, dude. Ever. You know, I come off as very like gun-ho a lot of the time because truthfully I am. But that's pretty much the gist of it, man. I don't trust governments because they've never given me a reason to see them as a trustworthy entity, ever.
But yet you live under the rule of your government, though, and its laws. So whether or not you trust
there's
it or not,
currently in this situation.
So it's like almost
I mean,
whether or not
look,
you trust
if you live
it
in
or
this,
not, it's kind of irrelevant. It's just like you have to follow it anyways, right? It's just you may not trust them, you just have to follow it.
Well, yeah, I guess in a way. If you're living under the government, then yeah, there's certain things you can't do. See, I don't want to get too deep into that because I'll start, saying shit that I shouldn't. But look, I'm not saying I break the law, but I'm not saying I don't. Okay? I plead the fucking fifth, all right? But, yeah, you're right. You kind of live under them whether you like it or not. But in my opinion, the more informed you are about the way governments are and the way control works, the more you can stay educated on it and the more you can spot it and the more you can fight it. Like, I'm not an anarchist by any means, dude. Like, I'm not an anarchist, but I'll be a fucking anarchist long before I'll be a communist. For fucking sure. And I'm not talking about the Antifa pussies out there that are crying with their fucking, diapers in a bunch, burning shit down and all that kind of shit. No, I would be like a living out in the middle of fucking nowhere anarchist, being self-sufficient and fuck the government. That kind of guy.
So something like your view on government, that has to be environmentally driven, though. What do you think shaped you to have the views that you currently have now on government?
My knowledge of history. Like I said, dude, my knowledge of history. My dad is not like that. My mom is not like that. Nobody else in my family but me is really like that. And actually, no, my dad's dad was, from what I understand. So, like we said before, I think the fucking personality was genetically
the red
transitioned over
passed on to you.
I think so, dude. I honestly fucking do.
Interesting. You gotta weld yourself a couple Foscase and put it outside your business as well to let them know where you stand as far as government goes.
Dude, like I wish in some ways I could, but where my business is, like I said, is in a very rough part of town, which is very ghetto, which is very minority driven, is a way of putting it. So unfortunately, I can't really express my views on that too much. Like, I fly a flag off my truck, but it's a fucking pirate flag because it's a fucking pirate flag. Pirate flags are cool. I cannot fly an American flag off of my truck in this neighborhood. Because, when you're business oriented, you want to keep your beliefs and your politics completely separate from your business.
Right.
You cannot invite that shit into the front door, especially in this demographic where I'm currently sitting.
You don't want to put
these are mainly exactly, especially as a white guy in the middle of the fucking ghetto. How dumb would I have to be? But yeah, I cannot fly an American flag around here, dude. The one time I did when we were relatively new, I got fucking dirty looks. I got like fucking people were like mouthing racist and shit. And I'm like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. It's American fucking flag. How is that racist? But I stopped doing that. But now, yeah, like I said, now I just fly a pirate flag off my truck because fuck yeah.
It's funny.
It's cool too, dude, because it's actually a threaded pipe. So what I did was I drilled a hole directly down into my bumper, and I welded a half-inch threaded coupler in there that I could thread my flagpole in. I drilled a hole so I could put a pin through it so it doesn't spin. And my flagpole topper is actually a fucking hand grenade, a decommissioned hand grenade that I fucking welded on top of the flagpole. It's actually pretty cool, man.
Interesting. Okay, so your car has a lot of customizations on it, like literal customizations.
I will post pictures of this in the general chat, like every part of it, and you can see it. Like my fucking my inside door handle on the driver's side broke off because the aftermarket one that I got was fucking plastic. Because everything seems to be fucking plastic these days.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot lighter when it's plastic, and it's cheaper too.
Yeah. When it broke off, I actually cut a wrench, and I actually drilled holes, and I made the wrench my fucking functional door handle. It's actually pretty cool, man.
I think so. That sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, man, a little custom touch on shit, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think the self-sufficiency and what's the word? The usability that you apply to everything, you know? Like, you don't throw anything away. It sounds like you either reapply it or somehow make use out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really neat.
No, I do. And one of the things I'm actually getting into besides blacksmithing is casting, actually. I recently ordered a bunch of graphite molds for copper ingots because I want to melt them down, and I actually want to hoard metals because, in my opinion, if the dollar inflates and shit hits the fan or whatever, the only thing that's going to have value is precious metals. And one of the things that I actually hoard the most of is lead, because when shit goes south, the one thing that's going to be worth something is the one thing that people can use to take other people's shit in a survival situation, which lead is very valuable because it's used to make bullets. So I actually hoard a lot of fucking lead, dude.
Interesting. Okay.
That's just I guess a theory or a personal opinion of mine, I suppose. Yeah, I hoard a lot of metals. I hoard a lot of lead, and what I don't hoard, I end up scrapping and getting money for it anyway. Because believe it or not, scrap metal is actually a pretty decent living out here right now. Copper is like $2.50 per pound.
Yeah, no, the price of materials going up, right? So therefore the scrap pieces that you were collecting are therefore worth more.
Yeah. Right now,
it's a good investment.
In my yard, my yard looks like a fucking wrecking yard. I've got a whole bunch of engines, and it does, dude. Like in my yard, we've got probably a dozen classic cars. And then on the other side where my area is, because I set up my forge in the yard, because it's a charcoal forge that I actually made by welding two 55-gallon drums together. And then I cut a window type hole in the top one, and I fit a brake disc off of a bus in there, which is what I actually use for the forge part itself, because it's so thick, no amount of heat that I apply to that thing's gonna fucking melt it. So I actually use that for the forge. And my area out there, because I put it outside, obviously, because I'm not going to fucking do that inside. My area over there, it's got like a whole bunch of gutted engines and transmission cases and shit. It literally looks like a fucking wrecking yard back there, dude, because I separate all the metals because you get more that way. And so I'll take that shit. I'll take it to the fucking scrapyard, dude. Like what? Like I'll keep the cams and the crankshafts out of the engines because I can use them to like make like tables and stands. I'll keep like brake discs because I can weld the cams onto the brake disc and use it as like a base for, like I said, a table or an ashtray or even like a fucking chair if I wanted to use like 4 cams and build some crazy ass chair or some shit like that. And what I don't keep of the internals, I'll scrap it.
Yeah, dude, I think you could really consider making a side business out of this hobby of yours, and you like it so much. I think what's the saying? Like, if you can make your job feel like play, right? That's the best way.
Yeah,
to work.
You never work a day in your life. When you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah. And it sounds like, you're spending a lot of time already with this hobby, right? That really, I don't know anybody in real life that does what you do, I mean, it sounds like a pretty valuable skill.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Really cool stuff out of it. Yeah,
I hear that a lot, actually.
I think you should go for it.
Yeah, when I tell people that dude, honestly, I've been thinking about it. Fucking, like, right now my focus is the family business, keeping money going, keeping the roof above our head, letting my dad fucking rest like he deserves, because he unfortunately has a lot of health issues. So the fact that he actually retired because we opened this place, and technically I'm paying the bills at my house right now. The fact that that happened is a really good thing, and it's giving him an opportunity to rest and shit like that. But, you know, that's my focus right now. In the future, fuck yeah, dude. You're going to see me on fucking Facebook, on fucking Google, selling these badass art sculptures and all this crazy shit.
Well, it doesn't have to start off like a full-time job right away, right? It's just like not even a part-time job, just like a side like thing. Like you make some stuff and, you know, maybe like putting yourself out there that you do this type of thing, and then you'll have a few potential clients that want you to weld something, and boom, you know, you have like through word of mouth. You're making stuff for people, and that's it's both a good way to utilize your skill, make some extra money, but also do what you love, and people can appreciate your work as well, right? And I don't know, man.
Fuck yeah, dude!
I think you should do it. I think that'd be really cool, and you don't have to do it full time either. And
hell yeah, dude.
Work. I'd be for it. I would.
Dude, I mainly do this shit when I get off of work. Like I work. Dude, fuck yeah, I'll ship you something. You tell me what you want, motherfucker. I'll slap that bitch together. I'll send it your way, homie.
I want some Roman Foscase.
I mainly do this.
Roman Eagle on it.
You want some what?
I'll send it to you.
Oh, wait, you want to? Yeah, send me a fucking picture, dude. Fucking bet. I'll ship that shit to you. You know, especially in this town in Vegas, with like tourists and shit, you know, that type of shit has actually a pretty decent market, because there's a lot of there's a lot of opportunity to get a lot of attention for it, especially here in Vegas.
That's true. You
know, because when you're on the strip, it's actually not uncommon to see a fucking camera crew rolling around recording a show, like Counting Cars. You ever seen Counting Cars with it's actually a pretty world-renowned show about restoration of classic cars. They're up on the strip.
I think I have seen it, actually, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then you've got this show called Welder Up, which she was actually at the Rat City Ruckus show last year. And I saw that dude, and he built this fucking beast of a fucking rat rod. It was awesome. But you've got like that dude who also has a show here in Vegas. You've got fucking so many opportunities to make this like gain some kind of attention and really make it something big. You know, it's just, I think right now it's just a time issue for me, and it's where I'm at. You know, eventually it will get there, because my dream is to own a shop and restore classic cars and build wicked fucking rat rods, like the type of shit that like people look at it rolling down the road and they're like, dude, what the fuck is that? Yeah. Like, that's the kind of attention I want, you know?
Well, you do it one step at a time, you know? The goal is to have a plot of land, very few neighbors, have some solar panels, have a rat rod, have family close by, a bunch of kids.
Exactly. Actually, there's actually one of my goals, kind of an odd goal, I think, is actually building a small nuclear reactor in my house. There's actually this forum that I found. Don't get ahead of me. There's actually a forum for this that I found, where it's a whole bunch of guys. It's an open source, and what they do is they get together and they reveal trade secrets from their trade. So you've got guys that have been like physicists for 40, 50 years. Yeah. You've got guys that are like gunsmiths, and you've got guys that were in the unions. And what they do is they reveal trade secrets. And there's actually a step-by-step how-to guide on how to build a fucking nuclear reactor. And this video that I was watching, this dude actually built one out of parts that he scavenged from like TVs and shit out of dumpsters. And he actually powers his entire workshop off of this miniature nuclear reactor. It's the craziest fucking thing, dude. But that's something I want to do, and I think I can do it.
Ted Kaczynski would be proud, I think.
I think so too, man.
That's funny. Well, cool, man. Well, I think that's the end of what we got now.
Okay, fine.
I don't have much else to ask.
I could sit here and bullshit for the next 5 or 6 fucking hours if you gave me the opportunity. Seriously.
Yeah. No, we're approaching 1 hour and 20 minutes now, and I think that's pretty good for the episode. So, but yeah, man, thanks for thanks for coming on. If you got any words of wisdom you would like to share with the audience here before we bounce.
I would say don't trust the government. Fuck bitches, get money. That's what I would say.
You heard it from JFK here, guys. Fuck the government. Nah, you guys didn't hear me say that, but you heard him say that. So. But cool. All right. Well, that's a wrap, guys. See ya.